Hey, what's good? Today is a little bit strange. I was originally going to review the live action show that came out on Netflix called Cowboy Bebop, but upon watching it, I found out that there was an original show, also under the name Cowboy Bebop, that was the basis of the Netflix show. So I decided, well, I might as well watch the original so I could then, have context for the Netflix show. And I ended up not being able to finish the Netflix show in time to do this review, so we're just gonna be reviewing the original first. The original Cowboy Bebop is a little weird because it's an anime.
Bruh.
Now, I'm not one to usually watch animes. I'm not really into that genre too much, but it didn't seem that bad. It looked like a cool show. I watched the first episode and I was like, okay, this looks mildly interesting.
So I'm going to be doing a spoiler-free review of the show, and I guess let's just jump into it. Cowboy Bebop is a show that takes you in many different directions, but the main story takes place in the year 2071. It follows a band of bounty hunters as they struggle to make ends meet. In this world, the Earth is no more and people don't really live there anymore, and really they just scour other planets in search of prosperity. In this show, our protagonists are bounty hunters, or cowboys as they are known in the universe, that take in criminals and put them to justice, in exchange for a reward, of course. Overall, the whole setting and aesthetic of it is awesome. I think it's really, really cool. The whole space theme and just everything. While the plot seems unoriginal and it would seem that you would find something like that in Star Wars or maybe like Star Trek, it's actually very different. It more or less fits its own kind of little niche, where it kind of mixes cowboy western, and it also mixes it with the space archetype, and it just adds like classic jazz, and just overall its aesthetic is something that I have never really seen, and I really, really, really like. This show differs in the fact that the future doesn't look so nice. If anything, it looks like our cities today. It looks like a Chicago or a New York, where it has that grimy feel, and I feel like that is way more realistic to what we've been shown in, oh, it's all white, beautiful marble everywhere, and I really, really dig that aesthetic. Matching with this more dark and broody aesthetic, the music is really, really good. I think the music is one of the highlights of the show, where it mixes elements of jazz and blues and combines them and has this really, really unique sounding official soundtrack, where the fight scenes still sound really, really epic. It gets you pumped up even though it's jazz, which is something you do not see. And the more emotional moments also do have its fitting music that is also extremely superb. Now, moving on to the characters of the show, I really, really do like all the characters. While they are imperfect, flawed characters that are really just really bad in general, they're not nice, I think that's what makes them cool and what makes them more human. Unlike most TV shows of today's day and age, each episode is more of like its own plot. It doesn't really have a big overarching plot like most TV shows these days, but it still has a very slight connection between each of them, which eventually leads to the big final conclusion. And when we do get to the actual characters and the importance of each of the individual main four characters, each one of them have their conclusions in the story overall. So when this show ends, you don't feel like you're left hanging. You feel like it has actually come to an end, even though each episode is isolated.
So anyway, I'm gonna give this show a 4 out of 5. I really enjoyed it. The aesthetic, the music, the plot, the characters are all great. I really liked it. It's changed my view on what anime is. Not something so cringy, but rather just a different way to tell a story a little. So I think it was a good experience. But if you are of lesser age, I would recommend asking your parents before watching the show, because it does hit some mature themes and does have some mature imagery in it. So yeah, just be precautioned. But otherwise, I'd say it's a good show and it's definitely worth giving it a watch.